Northern Colorado was once a proud Division II program with multiple national titles to their name and were viewed by some as a powerhouse as they closed out the 90s under head coach Joe Glenn before he left for the Montana head coaching job. At the time, there were no talks about moving up to the Division I AA level, but then administrators got an idea. What if they moved up to the D1 AA level? Without a plan in place, they chose to start the process in the early 2000s, and since becoming a 1AA program in 2004, they have been one of the worst D1 programs in all of college football. But how did that happen? This is the story of Northern Colorado football. But before we get into this, if you enjoy college football content like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, let me know who you think is the worst Division I football program in the comments section below. Northern Colorado would have their first season in 1893 and would later join the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference in 1923. They would not find a ton of early success, only winning conference titles in 1934 and 1948 under John W. Hancock, but the program would begin to rise to the top of the Division II level under Bob Blassie. Blassie took over at the then Colorado State Greenlee in 1966 after serving as their offensive line coach from 1956 to 1965. Blassie would go on to lead them to 2 RMAC titles, followed by 3 Great Plains Athletic Conference titles and a North Central title in 1980. That 1980 team would do enough to make it to their first Division II playoffs, where they would lose to Eastern Illinois 21-14. Blassie would remain at Northern Colorado until 1984 and retired as the school's winningest head coach with a record of 107, 71, and 3. Ron Simonson would take over for Blassie and would proceed to run the program into the ground with a 13-30 record over 4 seasons. Simonson would never have a winning season and would become an assistant for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers after the 1988 season. Then came Joe Glenn. Glenn had joined the Northern Colorado coaching staff in 1986, serving as their quarterback and kicking coach, and would be promoted to head coach in 1989. He quickly turned things around for the Bears, leading them to their first winning season since 1982 in his first season as head coach, as they finished with a 6-4 record. In 1990, they made it back to the Division II playoffs and did it again in 1991, with both teams losing in the first round. Although they failed to make it back to the Division II playoffs until 1995, Glenn continued to stack winning season after winning season. In 1995, they once again lost in the first round of the Division II playoffs, but in 1996 and 1997, they won back-to-back Division II national titles and made it to the quarterfinals in 1998 and 1999. Glenn also won 3 North Central Conference titles from 1997 and 1999. Glenn would leave Northern Colorado to become the head coach at Montana, where he would lead them to a Division I AA national title in 2001. When he left for Montana, there were no talks about Northern Colorado moving up, with Glenn saying, "We were positioned, I think, right where we belonged at the time." But athletic director Jimmy Fallis had tripled the athletic department's annual gift-giving program and helped to raise $3.5 million for improvements to Nottingham Field. Its 8,533-seat on-campus stadium. This led to some athletic officials to considering a major move for the Bears. At the time, there were no Division I AA, now FCS schools in Colorado. Colorado State, and Air Force were all 1A schools, which left a hole in the market for the Bears, which they thought they could fill. Although they were finding a lot of success at the Division II level across all their varsity sports, they decided to transition to the Division I AA level. What athletic officials failed to do was put together a good plan to find success at the D1 AA level. From what I could find, they basically decided on the move, hoping the funding would come, and just put up a prayer. When the move was made by the football team to move to the Division I AA level, Kay Dalton had them rolling at the Division II level. They had made it to the semifinals of the Division II playoffs and a 12-2 record in 2002, and followed that up with a 9-2 record as a Division II independent in 2003. They would be a founding member of the Great West Conference along with North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Cal Poly, UC Davis, and Southern Utah in 2004. The Bears struggled going 2-9 and 4-7 before leaving to join the much stronger Big Sky Conference, where they would really start to bottom out as a program. Scott Downing took over for Dalton, and over 5 seasons he went 9-47 with 3 straight 1-win seasons from 2006 to 2008. The program was in a bad place when Ernest Collins Jr. took over in 2011. Collins was a former defensive back for Northern Colorado from 1991 to 1994 and loved the Bears program. He was shocked by the state of the program when he arrived. Although they had been at the FCS level for almost a decade, they had yet to offer 63 full scholarships, only employed 7 full-time assistants, and had no grad assistants. Along with the hiring of Collins in 2011 came the hiring of Darren Dunn as athletic director in 2013. Dunn told the Denver Post, "The plan was, over time, to get it to where it would be fully funded. I really wasn't part of the discussion, but I emphasized the importance of it when I arrived because there were still some discussions going on about it. The assistant coaches were a critical component when I first got here." Collins found some success in 2015 and 2016 with back-to-back 6-5 seasons, and it looked like the funding was finally behind the program. Northern Colorado may be back on track. Unfortunately, what looked to be a rise for the program turned into its peak at the FCS level for now, as they went 3-7 in 2017, 2-9 in 2018, and 2-10 in 2019, and Collins was fired after putting together a 28-72 record. What Northern Colorado needed in their next head coach was a proven program builder. They had shown flashes of what they could achieve in 2015 and 2016. They were finally fully funded, and if they made the right hire, it may finally unlock success. While hindsight is 2020, let's just say Northern Colorado did not make the right hire. Instead of a proven program builder from a lower division school, they decided to hire a high school coach. Yep, you heard me right. They chose to replace Collins with Ed McCaffrey, the 3-time Super Bowl winning wide receiver who was the head coach of Valor High School. In McCaffrey's defense, in his 2 seasons at Valor, McCaffrey put together a 24-2 record, but he was still an unproven head coach. Ed is also the father of NFL running back Christian McCaffrey, as well as Max, Dylan, and Luke, who all played Division I football. The McCaffrey hire can be looked at as a school looking to win the press conference and make headlines, rather than make the right hire. While McCaffrey found early success at the high school level as a head coach, the same cannot be said for his college coaching career. His debut season would be postponed due to COVID. Heading into the 2021 season, he brought in his son Dylan McCaffrey from Michigan via the transfer portal to play quarterback. He also had his son Max serving as receivers coach in February of 2021. He also made headlines with expectations for the Bears football program in 2021, saying, "I say if you're not setting them high enough and people aren't laughing at your goals, then you need to set them higher. I think if a national title is not your goal, what are you doing?" By the time the season rolled around, Max McCaffrey was the offensive coordinator for the Bears. They started off the 2021 season 2-2, and it looked like the program could be putting together a special season, at least compared to the previous decade. Until not only did they get blown out by Montana State, Max McCaffrey would make headlines for all the wrong reasons when he threw a broken clipboard at a fan and hit said fan. Max would be officially reprimanded for the incident, with the university finding there was no malicious intent and it showed a lack of judgment. Bleacher Report wrote, "The university reportedly reviewed the incident in conjunction with the Big Sky Conference in Montana State. According to the university, the fan requested the broken clipboard as a souvenir, and McCaffrey obliged." Dunn told Bleacher Report, "While coach Max McCaffrey tossing of a souvenir into the stands showed poor judgment, it was clear there was no intent to harm, nor was the action fueled by anger, though the incident did occur after a pick six by Northern Colorado." Northern Colorado would go on to finish the 2021 season 3-8, finishing the season with back-to-back blowout losses to Montana 35-0 and Weber State 48-17. Then controversy after controversy would begin for the Bears football program. During the offseason between the 2021 and 2022 season, Northern Colorado lost almost 40 players to the transfer portal and about another dozen players to graduation. Players and former staff members alleged a toxic culture of atypical favoritism, nepotism, and a lack of proper preparation, with one report saying players did not get scouting reports and the coaches often installed plays a day or two before the game, while also saying McCaffrey tampered with scholarships in a way that was not allowed. Former players also alleged possible NCAA violations, but a review said the program abided by all NCAA rules. Things were not looking great for the Bears, and they would only get worse as the 2022 season went on. Once again, Northern Colorado finished 3-8, and while players spoke positively about the direction of the program, fans were not feeling the same positivity. After their season finale loss to Eastern Washington, fans took to social media complaining about McCaffrey, while the Bear Down podcast wrote, 3-8 is not good, and unfortunately, this has been UNC Bears football for years now. This whole experiment with Ed hasn't worked. Don't see it getting much better if I'm honest, and it's the best if they just moved on from it. But I doubt that Northern Colorado administration will do that. While Northern Colorado alumnus and college sports journalist writer Ben Schleger wrote, the McCaffrey, quarterback Dylan McCaffrey, and offensive coordinator Max McCaffrey trio has worse value than the worst thing than the dollar menu served cold and spat on. This high-caliber family bit off more than they could chew. After the failure on the field and all the controversies off the field, Ed McCaffrey would be fired, and once again, the once proud Bears football program was looking for another coach. Former players rejoiced and felt like they could root for their school once again with McCaffrey now gone. McCaffrey would commute to Greeley from Denver and failed to set up meetings with players throughout his tenure. The boosters claimed it was all about the number and what each player did immediately for Northern Colorado, not how Northern Colorado developed them into greater athletes and greater people. McCaffrey cut players regularly and treated it like a pro football team, not a small Division I FCS program. McCaffrey was not in the office. He procrastinated. Most of his coaching hires had little to no experience on the collegiate level. He wasn't invested enough. The McCaffrey experiment basically summed up how the whole Division I experiment has worked for Northern Colorado. But this past season may have been the rock bottom. Former Southern Utah head coach and BYU assistant Ed Lamb was hired as McCaffrey's replacement. The resumes couldn't be more different. While McCaffrey had no college coaching experience, Lamb was a two-time conference champion at Southern Utah. Lamb told 9 News, a sports writer said it best for the Salt Lake Tribune, when we started winning at Southern Utah, they didn't want to come to Cedar City. They didn't want to make that drive to cover us. We forced them to. Northern Colorado would have a tough 0-11 season with multiple close losses to the likes of Sacramento State, 21-13, Cal Poly 24-14, and Portland State 27-23. There were so many times they almost walked away with a win, but for some reason or another, they would just fall short. Lamb has his work cut out for him, but he has done this before. But why has Northern Colorado struggled so much at the Division I level? Well, the first major factor is because when the administration chose to move up to the FCS level, they had no real plan or money. They liked the idea of being an FCS school, but didn't put the effort into making things work out. To my understanding, Northern Colorado is struggling financially when it comes to the athletic department. They can barely fill their 8,000-seat stadium halfway, and can you blame fans? I also asked one of my close friends who is from the Denver area why the Northern Colorado struggles. Well, I actually asked him what he knew about Greeley, to which he responded it smells like cow manure. He went on to explain that Greeley is a small farming town with feedlots and meat processing plants, leaving a distinct smell. The university itself is not really known for much besides their teaching degrees and their theater degrees. Not your typical football player profile. It is a school in the middle of nowhere with no real support anymore, isn't known for much besides teaching degrees, and its administration failed to put together a strong plan when they made the transition. This once great Division II powerhouse is now one of, if not the worst FCS program in all of college football. Before they joined the FCS level, the Bears had a record of 379, 291, and 27 as a football program. Since they became an FCS program back in 2004, they are 49 and 161. Can Ed Lamb fix this sad program? I have no idea. What do you think? Is Northern Colorado the worst Division I football program? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of my other videos YouTube thinks you will love right here. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.